How's it going? Oh my gosh, Josh! I think it was this was your week. You know
I
what?
was thinking in my head, I was just gonna let you rock with it, but
Okay,
whatever.
hey, if you want to, go ahead.
Welcome back to the Everything in 30 podcast with Joshua Duran and
Thomas Sykes. Was it Josh?
hey,
I'll let you do next week too because I was
nah,
going through.
nah.
No, I was going through recordings from the last 2 weeks, from the last like 3 weeks, or and the last week I should have let you do it because that was your week. That was last week was your week, so I'm gonna let you go twice since I did twice. So, anyways,
Okay.
so we have a lot of news to cover since we recorded the podcast last Sunday and it aired on Sunday. We have what is that beeping in the background for you,
You hear a
Josh?
beeping?
Yeah, I just hear. Unless just my headphones.
Yeah, that's you then, because I don't. There's no beeping in my background. I
Whatever.
don't know what you're talking.
So other than me
I mean,
losing my mind,
just to give it credit, I don't hear beeping at your end, so it should be good at the
okay.
podcast.
So let's see. See, there it was again. I just heard a. I like how this is what we're doing. It's like we're spending the first minute of the podcast just going, just like talking. I hear a beep. It's just what's gonna be like in our old age, Josh. We're just gonna be sitting in the chair going, "Did you hear that, Thomas? That was nothing. No, it was a train." It was Nazis.
Oh
I
no.
don't know what it was. Anyways, so we have a lot of news to cover. What is it? We will talk about the vice presidential debate, but that's going to be towards the end of the show. That way, we actually have a time limit for that. That way, we don't go on a huge rant. We can cover the some movie stuff because we do have a bunch of stuff that we want to cover movie wise. Because there's just stuff that we both really want to talk about. First thing, this happened earlier in the week. Regal Regal Cinemas. If you don't know, when it comes to there's a bunch of movie theater chains. You have AMC, you have Regal, you have Cinemark. Well, Regal has said that they are closing down temporarily for due to COVID again. While AMC has said they're like, okay, yeah, we're staying open. Uh, when I heard this, I was like, okay, when I first heard this, a bunch of people were saying it's like, oh, AMC is going to, like AMC is gonna be closing, it's all gonna go bad, movie theaters are gonna be gone again, and I was like, I didn't think so, and I was like, I don't know why, but I just had this feeling that AMC is gonna find a way to stay open because AMC really needs this extra buck, they really do,
I mean,
and
it's definitely very interesting how I feel like AMC definitely would find a way to stay open, mainly because they're like the biggest movie
yeah,
company. You know what I mean? Like you think of like a movie theater, you think of AMC. You don't think of we said Regal, right? You don't think of Regal and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm.
So that'll be very interesting to
Or at
see.
least we don't think like we just because we had the AMC near us. But anyways, but one of the things that and people have been discussing ideas of like, what is it like? Oh, like everyone's just like, oh, it's like they're showing older movies and stuff like that. They're showing like classics, and I came up with the idea, and I'm gonna stick by because I think it's actually one of my better ideas when it comes to, like how to, what to do in this pandemic. And my idea is what if AMC instead of doing sorry, not instead, along with like releasing classic movies, maybe maybe like you can go online and they have like a form where you can request a movie. Like because I've actually looked this up and like AMC, like you can submit like your own film to AMC. Um and like it could be like on Netflix, something like that. You could submit it to them. I'm like, oh, that's cool. I'm like, but what if you were like, hey, it's like, hey, I really want to see, um, I don't know. Let's just say you really wanted to see The Godfather. You want to see The Godfather, or maybe you want to see The Hangover or something like that. Maybe you can be like, hey, I want to see this movie. And they could be like, okay, and you can either get a private screening of it, where if you get a private screening, you can maybe you'll pay like, what is it? They'll ask how many people you're gonna bring, and what the amount of people you are charged per seat. Um, if it's private, or like maybe it's like a Google, or maybe it's like a Google form where you're given a code or something like that. And it's like, oh, AMC private booking. It's like you could type in the code. It's like you could pick out your seat, you pay the money, stuff like that. And but it's only for the person that picked out the movie. They're like, oh, it's like, yeah, I want this to be a private screening. You get what I mean by that?
Yeah, that would actually be a really good idea. The only thing, like the only faults I would find in that would be probably that the movie theaters don't own like the movies that they show. Like it's like licensing and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I like your idea. What I think would be like another cool idea, like a cool idea that is an extension of your idea, is
Hmm.
if a movie theater with a bunch of like small movie theaters, like let's say in the average movie theater showing room, that's like what, probably 200 seats, maybe 100 seats, right?
Uh, I actually never really counted, but probably it has to be somewhat over 100.
Yeah, it has to be something over a
And
hundred,
each
right?
cinema there has to be like
So,
at over 100.
my idea of your idea would basically be having smaller movie theater rooms with around 25 seats and like and a smaller screen on the wall, of course, because it's going to be a smaller room, but around 25 seats, you can rent out that room for 2 hours for a couple $100 or $100, even though that's more expensive than just requesting a movie and then like, oh, it's $20 to watch the movie. But it'll
Mhm.
be cool to have your own movie theater to yourself and your friends. And because I do know what I do know movie theaters offer that service, but that's for a whole actual movie theater, like a whole movie theater room, and that's probably like a couple $1,000 just for a couple hours.
See,
You know what I mean?
I probably wouldn't think it'd be like a couple thousand. Honestly, like if you want to rent out like that's why I was just thinking, I'm like, it sounds like a good idea. I just feel like if you want to be like a smaller room, it's gonna be a lot of money if you really think about it. It's gonna be like, well, like I think it's gonna be a lot more money to get a smaller movie theater room because then they would have to make like a smaller space for the movie. But I would rather them like do kind of like what I said, where like you get the whole theater you get the whole theater to yourself. What is it? And maybe instead of like doing like a Google form, or it's like, oh, it's like a private screening with like a little code. Maybe it's like, okay, you get your own theater. Here's like, was it? You're paying like $200 or something like that, and you get to invite like this many people to come in.
See, but the only thing is that it definitely would be a lot more than 200 because you have to cover the price of each seat. Think about it. If it's at least 100 seats in a movie theater and every person is paying at least $10, that's $1,000 that they're supposed to have made. You
Well,
know?
not exactly if you really think about it, though, because because they really can't count, because when it comes to social distancing, like let's say 100, let's say you have 100 seats. Okay, you have the 100, you have to divide that by two just to begin with, and so right now you're getting 50 seats. So, and when it comes to the older movies, they're having it look AMC. I looked at their website. It's like they want like $5 per these old movies. So even at that, if you're spent the most you're gonna be paying if you do buy all 100 seats is going to be $500. But the least if you're only paying for like 50 seats, that's only like $250. But my thought is, I don't think that they would be like on top of you saying like, oh, it's like you need to be paying this amount of money because you're renting out this specific theater. Sorry, I don't know what I was just saying right there. Um, I don't think that they would be like that. I think they would be like more understanding, because they're probably going to be like, yeah, they know they're not going to attract uh, like 50 people to go into a theater. They know, I think they're already aware that they're not getting that. I think that when it comes to the theater though, they're going to be like, maybe they'll charge you for like um they'll like charge you for if you're renting your own private room like 40 seats, or let's say you are asking for like a private room, or maybe you're asking for yeah, like you're asking for a private room. They'll make you pay a down payment of like uh you'll like your $5 for your seat, but then also just for the movie you're gonna have to pay an extra fee because they have to go out and purchase this film. I'm like, that's probably what they would have to do in that case,
There has
right?
to be some type of legal issue though. Like if let's say they pushed just a film on DVD and they just showed it to the movie theater. There has to be some type of issue, right? Because I feel like movie theaters were created just to like show the new movies, like movies licensed to them to show for a couple of weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because
but
every movie that they show at a movie theater, they have to give like a percentage of the profits to the movie. You know?
yeah, I feel like that could also happen, but I think like what they could do is like let's say maybe like maybe like let's just say it takes like a month or so just to like get your move to get the movie theaters back up and running. Maybe what they could do is um they would um I don't know, you would like say like, hey, I want to see um the Looney Tunes movie. Let's just say Looney Tunes back in action. Let's just say that it's like, hey, I want to see Looney Tunes back in action. Here's every what is it? Then they're like, okay. So it's like, okay, this could take about 3 weeks to get. They send you an email basically saying, okay, this could take about 3 weeks to come through. We'll contact you once we get the movie. Basically, they'll like keep on contacting you once the date gets near, and then like once they actually get the film, they'll like charge you for the ticket and how much it's gonna cost and such. I feel like they could do that, but at the same time, like you would have to pay like a down payment to like just to do it. Like if you're buying a car, it's like, okay, you're getting the down payment for the car, and then on top of that, you're paying more money just to see the what is it? Then you have to pay money later on to see the movie, but you're paying the down payment basically because now you're having AMC go up to like Warner Brothers and be like, hey, we have a person that wants to watch this movie. Can we use it?
Yeah. I mean, this is all interesting ideas and theories, though. Yeah,
Mhm.
it'd be pretty interesting to see if that could work out. You know?
Yeah. Anyways, on to the next subject for today. What is it? This week it was announced. There was multiple things that were announced that have been moving release dates from what is it? I'm looking up right now. I think Black Adam has Black Adam has moved. I think I'm not really sure. I can't remember Black Adam. I just remember. I don't know why I remembered Black Adam out of everything. I just remember something happened with that. Um, the movie Dune that moved. Um, what else moved? I was good, but anyways, the main point to all this is with all the movies that have moved, we now because even Wonder Woman has moved from its release date now, and we have Black Widow moving again. I I actually no, I think it moved like last week or something like that. But we've had a lot of movies that moved, and what a surprise! Robert Pattinson's The Batman has been delayed yet again from October 2021 now to March 2022. Josh, I get the guy had COVID and everything. You know, I completely understand it, but at the same time, I'm just like, why? I was like, we can't have these studios keep on delaying these pictures, especially films like Wonder Woman, films like Black Widow that are done.
Listen,
Like, I
this
get
is
we
this
need the
is
studios
why
to
I
take a risk.
say, yeah, this is why I say literally all the time that a studio should not release a trailer for a movie. And I also get one thing before I finish that sentence. I get studios release trailers to see if there's enough interest by the audience to actually watch the movie, right? But if it's for like a series like Batman or like these popular books that you know will sell, then you should not release a trailer for any movie until all the filming/shooting is done. The only time you should be releasing a trailer is when you're editing the movie. That's my standpoint on that. Like if you're still filming, if you know you still have a couple months going on, and especially this virus stuff, if you know that you're still filming, don't release a trailer. Because people are gonna be mad when you say, "Oh, yeah, we're gonna have to delay the film for like another year because we need to film some more shots, we need to edit some more stuff, blah blah blah." You know?
Yeah. I personally am like I I'm sad, of course, because I was really excited for this movie, but things happen, and you know you have to deal with it. But at the same time, I'm at least glad that though it was pushed back, I'm glad it's still coming out and they didn't like say, and they're not leaving us all in speculation like, oh, we're moving it to this, we will determine the date at a later date. It's like, because that's what some of the movies are doing. They're like, yes, we will determine the date at a later time. It's like, just release the thing now. It's I personally am just like, please just release this at now. Like, especially with the movies, just release them around the same time, because that's the only way. I get there's a virus and everything, but the only way we can return back to a normalcy of some kind is if the studios take the risk. And you know
You
what?
know,
And the biggest thing is, and I'm gonna say this, when it comes to movies like Black Widow and Wonder Woman, they're not gonna make they're not going to make the $1 billion. I could see that for certainty, unless they release them years from now. Like 20, like, let's if they push the movies back to like 2022. But if they keep on pushing movies back, then what's going to happen? We need movies to bring us back in. And I truly thought that Tenet was going to be the film that brought people back to the theaters. They started they started to get people going back to the movies, but they kept on pushing. We need to stop pushing releases to video on demand and put them back in theaters, or at least do a combination. That way we can
listen,
get people back in the theaters. Like, look, what Bill and Ted Face the Music. They put in the theaters, but they also put on video on demand. I was like, and my thought was, don't do that. What they should do, put it on put in the movies for a week, or put it in for like 3 weeks, and then release it on video on demand. Like, because usually I don't remember the amount of runtime that it takes for before a movie goes from the theaters to video on demand, but it should be a good amount of time. It should be like a shorter amount of time, especially with the pandemic, where people aren't. That way you don't have someone that's going, "You're forcing me out of my house to go watch a movie. I feel so upset." And because you shouldn't be doing that either. The whole thing should be, here's a movie, comes out into theaters. People that want to see the movie will come out and see it.
well, listen,
But if you
Thomas,
release
listen,
it on demand at the same time, then
listen.
people are gonna be like, "Why am I going out to the movies when I can sit at home and own it?"
Well, Thomas, listen. Although
Yeah,
your idea is very more pro consumer and like progressive and stuff like that,
yeah,
it's the reason why they would never do that is mainly because the people who are selling the movie, right? And like this is like the same thing. Like I know about this because of like PlayStation and stuff like that. Let's talk about like with GameStop, they sell physical games in store, right?
mm-hmm,
And they sell the games for so and so amount of price, right? And Sony only gets a small percentage of whatever games they sell, right?
mm-hmm.
Well, not that small, but they don't get the full percentage. If you
Yeah,
buy a game from the PlayStation Store, they get all of the money. You
mm-hmm.
don't. The only thing they're doing to you is they're licensing out the game to you, basically. You pay them
Yeah,
$60, they get all that $60, and it's the same exact thing for the movie theaters. If this is actually good for the people who are selling movies, because instead of them giving the movies to the movie theaters and like, oh here, you can have this you can have this for like the next couple months and then we'll release it on DVD, right? Instead of them taking only a percentage of the whole profit, now that they're selling it on TV demand and all these streaming services and crap, they're making 100% of the profits. And that's why they would be reluctant to actually say, well, let's put it in the movie theaters for 3 weeks before we put it on TV demand, or before we make the 100% of profit, because most
Because
likely they're either making more or the same amount by just doing the same thing they're
they
doing now.
they're actually making less money. If you I want to just pull I don't know the exact statistics, but I do know like Mulan. That everyone knows that Mulan was released on the live action Mulan movie was released on Disney Plus not too long ago. But it wasn't for free for Disney Plus members. It's gonna be free in like December, I think. And the idea is if you have Disney Plus, if you're already paying for Disney Plus, you pay an extra like $20, you get to watch this movie. And my idea was just
Yeah,
like,
that's
wow. But that I think only made like a little over $100,000.
the same
Now,
thing as the Succession.
now, sure, now let's say like when it comes to the movies and stuff like that, if it was in a movie theater setting, now I'm saying this before COVID, before COVID in a movie theater setting, that movie would make a lot more money. I know you probably agree with me on this, but you would make a bucket of money just from that Mulan movie because it was in the theaters, but also because you're not paying $20 on Disney Plus, but you're paying maybe $12 for that ticket.
Oh,
That's yeah.
I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you a lot. The audio is kind of cutting in and out from on my side for some
Oh,
reason.
sorry.
No,
Sorry
that's
about
right.
that.
But what do you call it? The only thing I would say to what you're saying is that what you're saying right now is kind of different from what I'm talking about. What I'm
Hmm.
talking about is like, let's say they say a movie is coming out next month on the 20th. They're like, hey, to be able to watch this movie, you just pay $15 on this day, and that's all you have to do. Like your example is more like, first off, the first thing you have to do, you have to buy the subscription for Disney Plus, and that's already a bad deal because it's cheaper just to get a 1 year subscription rather than playing a monthly subscription. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A monthly subscription could be $15 a month, while if you get the year, it'll only be $10 a month. So that's already a dilemma. But so
Yeah.
some people might already be thrown off by that. And then after you get through that payroll, now you have to pay another $20 to get the movie.
Yeah.
Disney was really just screwing himself there because people don't like paying money in the first place. No one likes paying money for anything, even though
It's
that's how the world works. No one likes paying
Quibi.
money for anything.
Quibi. That's Quibi's one of the best examples of that. If you look at Quibi, that was out for a free for 90 days. How many people use that? Like a huge amount of people were watching Quibi. Then once that happened, I think it was like only it was less than like 15% of the people that watched it actually bought a subscription. I was like, oh, and
Jeez.
I was like, whoa. Think of that. Like, think of like that's like watching a show. That's like having a show that pulls in like ratings of like like that pulls in like millions of ratings, and then once like sorry, you know what? Here, I got a perfect example. It's like watching Two and a Half Men, and then watching straight through Charlie Sheen, and that has so many. It's like has millions of viewers. Let's just say that's like 10 million viewers. Then he Charlie Sheen has his whole episode, and they get rid of him, and then you have Ashton Kutcher. Then you have a rating drop. Then you have a rating drop, and now you're dropping from like 10 million viewers to now like what is it 1 million 1,500,000. It's like whoa, that's a big drop. It's like 1,500,000. It's like whoa, that's a big drop, right, Josh?
Yeah, that's very interesting.
It
I mean,
yeah.
it's just a whole thing because like the world runs on money. We already know that. Everybody knows that. But people don't like getting screwed, and they can tell if they're getting screwed,
Yeah.
right? And the companies don't hide it. Why am I going through a paywall? I'm paying $20 every month, and oh, you're trying to say, oh, it's cheaper to pay for the year. Yeah, it may be cheaper to pay for the year, but what if the only reason I'm getting this subscription is to watch that movie? Then I'm paying more just to pay for the month, and I'm also gonna have to pay for a movie that you're saying, oh, it's gonna be free later on. So you're basically just trying to con me into buying a year-long subscription. You know,
Yeah.
even if people don't say that out loud and like recognize it like to themselves, they recognize it on a subconscious level that they're getting screwed and they're just not gonna do it. You know, people aren't stupid.
Yeah.
Even if you're quote unquote stupid, you're not stupid. Like people can
Anyways,
tell if
yeah.
you're getting screwed.
Anyways, what is it? We are kind of running out of time, but we still have enough time to talk about three more topics. Um, was the first thing I want to go through quickly is Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange has been announced to appear in Spider-Man 3. Josh, your thoughts? Quick thoughts on
Um,
that?
that'll be very interesting to watch. I mean, I didn't watch the Doctor Strange movie, but I'm excited to see him in the Spider-Man movie.
That's gonna be cool. What is it? And they're also saying that Jamie Foxx's Electro will be in the movie too. So I'm like, do I hear a multiverse crossover? Multiverse? Do we have
Go-
a do we have Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe crossing over with the MCU? Is that what I hear? I think that's what I hear.
I
Uh
don't think that's what I hear.
anyway, well that's what Jamie Foxx was originally in Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man universe and he played Electro, so that's why everyone's like, "Oh, do we hear a multiverse crossover?" Okay. Anyways, Chrome, sorry, Google. I keep on calling it Chrome. Google. Google has announced that they're going to be having their own version of the Fire Stick in Roku. And what is that going to be? Well, basically, it's like I just said, it's going to be their own version of the Fire Stick and their own version of the Roku. And it's supposed to have HBO Max on it too, which I was like, whoa, HBO Max? I'm like, I think that I could honestly see HBO Max subscriptions going up. Like if people buy this Chromecast, Google TV, I definitely think the subscriptions will go up because, well, now you're gonna have an actual television that can run like other than like a Samsung TV. You're gonna actually have a a you're actually gonna have a television that can run HBO Max, and it's not you're not doing anything like illegal to actually get it up. I'm like, that's cool. I'm like, you know what? I hope that Google. I wonder if Google will be better than Fire Stick and Roku. Because I find that Fire Stick, I like Fire Stick. As Fire Stick, I feel you could do a lot more with. But I feel like but I think the design for Roku is very simplistic, and I like the simplistic design of Roku compared to Fire Stick, where like everything I feel is like jumbled together. But I do like Prime shows though. I will not deny like what is it Amazon, what is it out of everything Amazon does have a very good selection. I do highly recommend it. I do highly recommend like watching shows
Yeah,
via Amazon.
yeah.
Let's see. Also, Prime Music. We're on that. Yeah, watch us on your Fire Stick. But yeah. But I'm a bigger fan of Fire Stick than I really am a Roku. But I do like the design for Roku better than I do like the design. Like when I say design, I mean like the background design. Like like with Roku,
You mean
you have
the
like little.
UI? The UI?
Yeah, the UI I do like that a little bit better than Fire Stick. But other than that, I do like Fire Stick a lot more. I feel like Fire Stick, you have more options to choose from. Plus, I like the remote design for Fire Stick. I feel like Roku feels like plastic to me. It just feels like a huge amount. It feels like just bulky plastic. Anyways, so now that we got all the movie stuff out of the way, time to spend a couple minutes talking about the vice presidential debate, also known as really boring. Like it was
Yeah.
really boring. Like it's like what it when watching the debate between Trump and Biden, it was like, oh, he just said that. Oh yeah, it's like, oh yeah, Biden get burned. Oh, Trump. Oh, Trump just got burned. Oh, yeah, eat it. It's like, whoa. And then you get to this debate, and it's like, when I watch the debates, I don't take sides. I just kind of sit back and just like watch the two. I just watch the two of them fight, and but I was watching, and I only really watched parts of it, and it was just dumb because you had Pence, and Pence,
Mhm.
I personally think Pence won that thing, but but just because of and I also only watched part of it, but I did watch the scene because did you watch the part of it, Josh, where Pence got a fly on his head
Yeah.
and he didn't notice it for like
Yeah.
a straight like minute? I was like, bruh, there's a fly on you. I was like,
Listen.
I don't know whether he was trying to be cool, like cool, calm, and collective, or like, because I was waiting for him just to like slap that thing, wash that thing out of the sky, and then you would have Kamala go,
Slap that
"See,
thing.
look what he did to that poor fly," and that's what he's doing, and which he should be doing to the coronavirus, but he's not. Elect Joe Biden.
I mean, I don't think there's much hate on not Joe Biden. I don't think there's enough as much hate on Mike Pence as much as Donald Trump. What I thought about the debate is number one, my theory about the boring part. The what was I even saying? The debate was very boring. I will vouch for that because I fell asleep at the beginning. I woke up at the fly part, and then I went back to sleep. Right. My
Like,
theory about that is that ever since the Donald Trump presidency, like the news stories, the headlines, the comedic shows and everything off this one presidency has made Americans so like entertained by the presidency spot. You know what
it
I mean?
really
Like if
has.
because now when we watch an actual because that debate, that's literally how an actual debate was. You go back like what 10 years, 12 years to like a debate with Obama or a debate with George Bush or something. That was what a debate was. But now that we have Donald Trump, and I'm not giving my opinions on the whole, I'm not going to give that political opinion or anything like that. But I'm saying now that we have Donald Trump, Americans has been so entertained by the presidency that they don't want to see a normal debate. They want to see something funny or something they can be like, oh
Yeah,
my gosh, that's
they
crazy that he
started a
said that.
show. I'm pretty sure like they started a show just off Donald Trump's presidency, and I was like,
Yeah,
okay, that's funny.
SNL skit thing.
But
Those are pretty funny.
I found it so funny. I personally, I just remember watching Pence and like people, and I was personally just making fun of Kamala Harris because if you watched Kamala Harris while Pence was talking, if you watched Pence while Kamala Harris was talking, Pence was like, he looked at he like looked at the camera. He's like actually taking notes, watching her, and like, okay, he's like, okay, I understand that. It's like, okay, I understand, but I disagree with it. But like, you could tell he's actually thinking. Kamala Harris, though, she looked so snotty. I think she personally looked so snotty while he was talking. Like she's just like she had like this facial expression like this guy's like, okay, yeah, what a liar. Yeah, what a liar. Like even when like Kamala Harris said things that like weren't true, Pence didn't say you didn't hear Pence start going on about, all you didn't hear Pence like me like make like weird faces towards her. Like he like honestly, like I think I only saw like a few times really like just shake his head like when she said something that was like really like not true, and I was like, you know
I
what,
don't,
I
I
get
don't know.
what he
I,
considers not true. Let me put it that way: what he considers not true.
I don't know. For the parts I was, this is just funny to say the parts I was awake for. But for the parts I was awake for, like they both were just making faces when the other person was talking. Like I remember Kamala was talking something about Donald Trump and his past stuff, his past actions or something like that. And
Mhm.
Mike Pence was making some faces, and then Mike Pence was talking about Kamala Harris and her past career and stuff like that. She was making faces. This is what
Yeah,
I was watching. I
I
mean,
yeah.
it was an interesting debate. It was boring as crap. I will say it was the most boring debate I've watched. But maybe I haven't paid attention in the past. I don't know. But that debate was boring. I fell asleep during it. Fell asleep after it. um,
But
I really don't. I don't think either
yeah,
person won. They made some
did
points,
you?
but
Yeah, Josh, did you hear what the media was saying afterwards? I thought this was so funny, and I truly,
what about the
I
fly?
was No, no, not about the fly. Actually, no, about the fly. I'm pretty sure. What is it?
I saw every media outlet
There was
post about the
there was
fly.
a newscaster that called the fly. It basically racially identified the fly as what is it? I gotta find this now because what is it? I gotta search. Newscaster racially identifies fly on Pence's head. Was it? Yeah, I think it was like CBS too. Was it? Um, because um because it was this woman. She straight up I think called the fly. Um, she called I think yeah I think it had to be CBS. I think I could be completely wrong,
Well, just
but
try to summarize it.
anyways, they were calling it like that. It was representing what is it, black people out stuff. It was representing all this other stuff, and they're so it's representing how it represented the devil. It's representing that they were saying all this other stuff. I don't know why I can't remember this all of a sudden, but they were saying like, oh my gosh, this represents racial injustice.
You know, I just had this funny thought in my head.
How he's not doing anything. How they're all lying. I'm like,
You
you
know
got
what?
the all from a fly. I'm
Listen,
like,
this is what I'm
when did
thinking,
we
bro.
all become? Like, when did newscasters become authors? I'm like, where did we get this from? Okay,
This is what I'm
okay.
thinking, bro. This is this is a funny thought that just came in my head when you're explaining that whole thing, like what they got from the fly or whatever. And I'm
Yeah,
not gonna give my opinion about the article because I haven't read the article, so I don't even know what you're talking about. So,
yeah.
but what I'm thinking when you say that, it's like when an English people teacher gives you like a passage to read, and the passage is like absolute bull crap. Like there's literally nothing in there, and they're like, "What does this mean to you?" Write a whole essay about what this means to you, and you're just bull crapping your way through the
It
essay. You're like, you're like, this is what this symbolizes. This is really close to my heart. That's what that sounds like.
You know, I really feel that that fly represents all the injustice I faced. Nah, oh my gosh. But yeah, anyways, going back to all the stuff about the debate. But the other thing and I found this truly hilarious. The media was saying that Pence was mansplaining was his arguments to Kamala Harris, to Senator Kamala Harris, and I was like, mansplaining. And I'm thinking about this. I'm like, how? I'm like, okay, I don't. I personally don't know how you mansplain things, but I, I was like, why? I'm like, if both of them, like, let's say Kamala Harris was a male, well, let's say that Pence is a female. This would be a completely different scenario. It would be, it would be like if Harris was a male, it would be, Pence is going off again. Pence is being silly, doesn't know what he's doing. But if Pence was a woman and Kamala Harris stayed her gender, you would have a completely different scenario where it would just be like, oh, what a crazy woman. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Stop pretending
I
like
mean,
you understand. I'm like, what? But just a term they used. It was mansplaining. I'm like, why? I'm like, just if you're going to be biased, like just basically, like just straight up hey, be honest. Don't call it mansplaining though. Like if you're going to say
yeah.
anything,
I
please
mean,
don't call it mansplaining because it's not. It's called a debate. It
listen, Thomas,
Yeah.
Thomas. I mean, I get what you're saying. I get
Thank
everything you're saying.
you.
And the only thing I would say to you, like, your question, what you think about what that person said, whatever you said, mansplaining, whatever crap they said. You're allowed to have your opinion with that. The only thing I would say is just be careful when you're speaking about that type of stuff, because it's like a very thin line between like trying to explain why what they're saying isn't mansplaining and why that term isn't like the best term to use when someone is trying to address issues about sexism and this stuff and blah 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 blah.
Yeah,
And
tomorrow I'll be
there's a thin
canceling
line.
like
There's a thin line between like trying to explain that and like coming off as, oh, you don't like women or something like that. I'm not saying
yeah.
you were, but I'm
What
saying
is
there's a
it?
very thin line between that.
What is it? Am I supposed to be like, oh, I was all for the Me Too movement? It's like before I began. Honestly, that'd be funny if, like, if in the vice presidential debate, Pence, like, before he sorry, he goes, before I begin, I just want to say I was all for the Me Too movement. Just wanted to say that. Okay, Miss Harris, I just want to tell you that
I mean, I don't know. The Me Too movement was kind of crazy too, though. Because what do you call it?
yeah.
Justin Bieber. Did you hear about Justin Bieber and how he had to like prove that he was in a different city because some random like Twitter account said, "Oh, I got Me Too to by Justin Bieber or some crap." He had to like provide receipts for stuff for a random Twitter account that was created like a month ago, and like these news articles were posting about it. Justin Bieber sued the news article though. But it was crazy.
I'm pretty sure
And then there's people.
there was a kid that actually sued like a bunch of sued like CNN, the Huffington Post, and all that other, and like the Washington Times, New York Times, Washington Post, for like, because, and this was like a couple of years ago, because he stared at, because he was looking at like he was looking at an Indian in like this like in like a certain way, and everyone's like, oh, he's a racist, and he was wearing, because he was, you know why, he was wearing a Make America Great Again hat, and everyone thought he was a racist and stuff like that. And and I think and apparently everyone took it actually out of context, and that was what happened. Everyone took it out of context because no one knew the actual situation that happened, and the family like just sued like for like millions of dollars these big news organizations for
Yeah.
defamation. And I was like, yeah, it's like this is why as media companies, you look into things before you do anything. This
Yeah,
is
they
what
got in way too comfortable with publishing stuff they haven't looked into.
it's like. This is why we have. This is no, but this is why when there's criminals that are arrested, we have a court system to see if the facts to see what the facts actually are for the case.
Yeah, but
Investigations. Anyways,
what I will say, relating back to what I was saying before, I do support like the Me Too movement and stuff. But what I hate and what I don't support is people who use movements like that to try to get ahead. You know what I mean? To try to like exploit the movement because they know that a movement like the Me Too movement is gonna have people who are gonna be like, okay, I believe you because I know that a lot of people have said in your life that they don't believe in, that they won't support you.
mm,
That's the type of audience that the Me Too movement has, and that's rightfully so. But there's
yeah,
a bunch of people that's gonna exploit that for like, oh, let me just use this to try to get ahead. And I hate people who do that type of stuff. Like that happens in every single movement. With Me Too movement that happened in there, it happened with the Black Lives
exploitation.
Matter movement. Yeah, exploitation, Black Lives
Because
Matter movement, a
and
bunch of different
for
movements.
example, and I want to add on to you for a second. Black Lives Matter. Look at what's it called? The rioting, the looting. Black Lives Matter did not. I firmly believe that Black Lives Matter was like, yeah, we didn't want this rioting, we didn't want this looting, but but you had people that were like, oh, this is what they all are about, and I'm like, I remember hearing about that. I'm like, no, I don't think that's what they're about. But when it happens when you see the amount of people that exploit it,
That's right,
then
exactly.
then it turns into that, and then you get people like politicians who who use the exploitation, who think that that's what they're doing and support it without actually knowing what it is. So I'm pretty sure there was like a politician that like supported that. I think it was like, yeah, one of the presidential candidates or something like that. I could be completely wrong, but someone did support the looting and the rioting, and I was like, what? I was like, don't do it. I was like, that's dumb. It's like you're supporting it. You're not supporting the actual movement.
Yeah.
You're just supporting the bad part about it. It's like, don't do that. Support what's good about it. Like don't support them taking down statues. Don't support them. Like don't be like don't support them taking down statues. Don't support them uh burning down buildings. Support them going to the streets and actually protesting, like actually taking precautions, socially distancing, wearing masks, protesting for rights because that's what's good about it.
Yeah, and that's why I hate people who do that type of stuff because even though the movement is good at its core and is good like at mostly at the with most people, it's a butterfly effect. If you do one thing, what's going to get more clicks? The protests in the street or like the people burning down buildings? Obviously, the people burning down buildings is going to get more clicks, and there's a whole butterfly effect. And not only does it have a butterfly effect for people saying, "Oh, I don't support Black Lives Matter because they're burning down buildings," there's also a butterfly effect in the opposite direction where people are like, "Oh no, I justify it," because people feel the need to support the people who are actually out there protesting against police brutality and stuff like that. And that's why you see people online like, "Oh, I support it, this and that." "Oh, people rioted over like soccer games and stuff, so it shouldn't be a big deal now that it's actually over a human life or something like that," you know? And you have people justifying it because they feel the need to support the people who are actually out there being a part of Black Lives Matter. But what
Yeah.
news is Black Lives Matter isn't people burning down the buildings, it's the people protesting, the people who are in the streets 24 hours a day with a sign. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's a whole butterfly effect in every single direction. That's why I don't like people who try to profit off of other people's hurt and pain, you know?
Hmm. And that's probably one of my biggest reasons I was like, when it came to a bunch of the stuff that was going on, like when it came to them, what is it? Like they gave them like a day. I think they gave them like a day, like Black Lives Matter Day or something like that. And they gave them a street. I was like, I wasn't like, oh yeah, they're giving them this, they're giving them that. I'm like, I wasn't like that. I was like, don't give them things, give them what they want. I'm like, they want there to be racial they want the racial injustice to stop. So try your hardest to get the racial injustice to stop. I'm like, sure, people like the Black Lives Matter street, the Black Lives Matter day, but that doesn't but it really doesn't make sense because they're not looking for that. And that's why I was like, why are you doing this? It's like that's not what they want. That's not what the movement's about. They weren't going, man, I really hope we get a day out of this. It's like, no. It's like, no, that's not what they're
Yeah.
after. They
And
want
that's a
there to
typical
be
politician
justice.
move. Yeah, and it's a
But
typical politician move so that they can get really
it's
reelected or they can get, "Oh,
it's
let
what
me
the
elect you to the
Democratic Party's
governor's
been
office."
doing. It's what the Democratic Party's been doing. They've been like what is it? Like when it came like to Republicans I don't think have really been supporting the movement. But the Democrats, they've been supporting it, but I feel like they've been just supporting the wrong. They've been supporting the bad parts of the movement, and they've been like, "Oh, you want racial justice? How cute! How about we give you a little street?" It's like, no, do what's right. There should be equality. It's like I think that shit's a given. Give them equality.
Yeah. And I'm definitely not a fan of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party because they both have ideals that I don't like or that I do like. And I'm not just going to side with one just to be like, "Oh, I'm a Democrat. Oh, I'm a Republican." I don't see the reason in that, you know? And I will acknowledge that I feel like the Democratic parties and like the Democratic candidates have been using the black vote and stuff like that just to get ahead, you know? I
Mhm.
feel like I feel like if black people came together, like I'm black, you're not black, but but I'm black. If we came together and it was
I
like,
I
listen,
I'm
we're gonna
where I am where it matters. That was a joke. That was a joke. Trust me. By the time this comes out, they're gonna be like canceled, canceled. You've been
but
canceled. Thanks for staying alive, but we want you to go end it all now. We're canceling you. Yeah.
but if we actually came
Anyways.
together and voted for people who would actually benefit the black community so that everybody could be equal, like actually equal in every single aspect, then we could actually have a good society. You know what I mean? And it's not,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that oh, it's only black people's fault because it really is everyone's fault. You know,
Yeah.
because black people are being manipulated by the Democrats, and although the people who are higher up or people who are making more money off of this, they're not going to stop what they're doing because they're making a lot of money off of black people being manipulated. You know what I mean? It comes from every direction, and we just need to rethink our society and the way things goes.
And when it comes to, especially when it comes to everything, because what the Democrats are firmly doing, and I firmly believe this, Democrats are being like, their Black Lives Matter, their whole movement is people need to be held accountable for what happens. It's like when certain things happen, like George Floyd, they need to be held accountable for it. Where you know what, but you can't make everything, but not, and Black Lives Matter, I think, firmly believes, they're like, yeah, we know that not all shootings are the police's fault. For example, Breonna Taylor, I'm gonna bring this up. I'll probably be canceled for this anyway. But Josh, you remember she was killed, but when she was killed, what is it? The police had a no knock warrant. If you don't know what no knock warrant is, it's basically when police can just come into your home, they don't have to announce themselves, so they can come right in. And they announced themselves. I think out of courtesy, actually, I think out of courtesy, they just announced themselves. Uh, Breonna Taylor's boyfriend came to the door. The police came. The police came in. He shot at them, so they fired back, and in the crossfire, Breonna Taylor was caught in the crossfire and died. The boyfriend did not die, and the police in that case, you know, when you hear it like that, because you see the media, that's why I don't trust the media when it comes to stories like this, because there's always a bias in it. When it comes to that, you would, I was like, okay, the police, you know what, the guy did open fire on them, so it makes sense that the police opened fire back. What happened is sad. It's like, yeah, but it's not the police's fault, and but and even the
But
judge,
if even if you said if it wasn't the police's fault, you can listen. My
yeah,
my opinion, in my opinion, the shooting was not justified at all. And even if you say it's not police brutality, you have to admit it's at least police negligence. Because before earlier that day, they already caught the person that they were looking for. Second off, even though the police said that, oh,
no, no,
we
no, no, no.
announced ourselves.
Wait, they weren't. They were. It's not.
Yeah,
They
it's oh
they
that's
but
online. They
they
said they
but they had already obtained a warrant to search, a no knock warrant to
yeah,
search the house.
they
So,
went to the wrong house, Thomas. That wasn't the right house. That's why you have to let me finish what I'm
wait,
saying.
was it? Now I gotta search,
No,
because I can't. I honestly, because people have just been saying that back and forth. What is it?
listen.
Yeah, keep talking
What I'm
though.
saying, what I'm saying is that even if you don't want to, in my opinion, it was a form of police brutality and negligence. But even if you don't want to say it's police brutality, you have to say it's at least negligence. Because from what I saw online, what I've been reading online, everything, they already had the person earlier, that the person that they were looking for. Number two, the no knock warrant wasn't even at the right house. Like they got a warrant, but they went to the wrong house. That's first of all, that's negligence in yourself. If you have a warrant to go inside someone's house without even knocking, you better check and make sure that's the right house. Number three, the police may have said, "Oh, we announced ourselves," but the boyfriend said that he didn't hear them. Now that's a he said she said, and people are obviously going to believe the police because it's the police. But what
But
happens in a scenario? What
but they
happens in a
also had a no
scenario?
knock warrant in that. But they also had a no knock warrant. So
But Thomas, they
yeah.
went to the wrong house though. They
But
didn't go to the right
again, no,
house.
no, no, no. I agree. But even if they went to the right house, they didn't have to do that. But because I don't really, I'm just looking this up now to see if they went to the wrong house, to see what about the wrong house. Um, but I do, but when it comes in that case, when it comes to her death, it was wrong. It was wrongful, but the police did have a no knock warrant, and with a no knock warrant, that does mean that they are allowed to come in. What is it
Thomas.
now? I'm
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying with the no knock warrant. But that literally is police brutality though. Think about it.
I,
Okay, think about it this way. Let's take it. Let's do a new scenario, but it's just basically the same exact thing. All right. Let's
mm,
say the police get a call on the radio like, oh, there's this dude who we know exactly what he looks like. he is wearing a blue shirt, tan pants, black Jordans, or a black Jordans, white socks, black hair, you know, and he's walking down 56th and Boulevard, right? And the police are like, okay, all right. And so they go down to 55th and Boulevard, and they don't even see a person with the right clothes on and everything, but they just assume it's him, right? And the police start questioning him, say, "Oh, we're gonna arrest you for, oh, blah 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 blah." And the dude starts running away because he's like, "Oh crap, no, they're not gonna get me for robbing this house when I didn't even do that." And guess what? They shoot at him and kill him, right? Now, your justification may be, "Oh, he was running away, so what were they supposed to do?" Well, first of all, they went to the wrong street, went to the wrong person, right? They didn't even check to make sure that was the right person. Number one, that's police negligence, right?
I'm
And
still trying to find where it says that they went to the wrong house, because so far I've looked at like Wikipedia, which isn't completely true, but so far I haven't found anywhere where it says that where they went to the wrong house. It just All I found is that the officers went to Taylor's apartment because
Thomas,
it was some that because she was with some guy
well,
that was
Thomas,
yeah.
if the no knock warrant was for, let's say the no knock warrant, I don't know who the person they were actually looking for was, but let's say the no knock warrant was for a person who was robbing cars, and his name was I don't know, Alex, right? If
Okay,
they
yeah.
go to a person's if they go to a person's house who the the girlfriend's name was Breonna Taylor. I don't know what the boyfriend's name was, but the boyfriend's name was definitely not Alex,
Yeah.
and neither of them was being looked for by the police. That means they went to the wrong house. That wasn't the right house they went to.
Yeah.
If there no warrant, if their no knock warrant was for Alex, and they show up at, let's say the boyfriend's name is Theodore or some crap, I don't know, and they show up at Theodore's house, that means the warrant was not that means they were at the wrong house. That's just common sense. It's not
Mm,
that, oh, they gave him a warrant for Theodore's house. No, they gave him a warrant for the right person's house. They went to the wrong person's house.
mm,
That's literally what it is.
mm.
But anyways,
But
they if the no first of
well,
all, the no
wait,
knock warrant thing
yeah.
should already be outlawed though. Why would you even approve of something of a no knock warrant? I don't know who put that
Wait.
in
Oh,
effect, but why would you approve of that?
let me explain though. Let In the case of a no knock warrant, the idea is they want with a no knock warrant, they basically want to be able to come into your house and basically, without you knowing. So the idea is, let's say, what is it? Let's let's say someone's running like a drug operation. Okay, I'm just saying, I'm using it as a huge example. I know it's gonna seem kind of weird to both of us, but let's just say someone's running a drug operation. If you With a no knock warrant, the idea is police don't have to, where maybe someone has like drugs is taking drugs like cocaine or something, they can dump it down the toilet and get the evidence out. What the no knock warrant's supposed to do is it's supposed to be like, it's like, surprise, we're here, and it basically they basically can come right in, do what has to be done, and basically they can convict you right on the spot, and that's the idea behind the no knock warrant.
I
But
I get the idea,
yeah,
but if you think about it, that warrant shouldn't have any basis because if a police officer or there's a warrant for somebody's arrest, that means they have enough evidence to arrest you already, right? If the point of a no-knock warrant is to go into your house and find you pushing drugs down the toilet, that means you don't have any evidence to arrest him in the first place. And you're just trying to find out, oh, what if it's in his house? Let's get this no-knock warrant. That makes no sense at all.
not
If you
exactly,
if you
not exactly,
Listen,
because
Thomas,
yeah,
if someone
sure,
has if a police officer is arresting someone, they have to have enough evidence to arrest them, or at least reasonable doubt or some crap,
reasonable
whatever it's
belief.
called. They can't just arrest someone reasonable belief. They can't just arrest someone just because they feel like arresting someone. It has to be
Well,
some type
yeah,
of evidence. So if they're
and
going to your house and to arrest you, there shouldn't be a need for a no knock warrant if they
well,
have evidence to arrest
the
you in the
the
first
i
place.
the idea, uh hey, I don't trust me. I don't fully know what a no knock warrant is. I will be like I know what the no knock warrant is, but I don't fully know what they use it all for. And what is it? I don't know if you know what it's fully used for. Not putting you down for anything. Just want to throw that out there because I don't fully know what it's used for. But when it in the case for Breonna Taylor, they though it was the wrong house, eh, they followed the no knock warrant by, but they hold on. I gotta say this correctly. I was just gonna come out completely wrong. The no knock warrant. The idea behind it is they police can come to the door. They don't have to say anything. They can come right in. In the case of Breonna Taylor, if let's just say you are right because I couldn't find anything that said that they went to the wrong house to prove you're right. But let's just say you are right.
It is the wrong house. They didn't give them a warrant for that person's house.
But
They would not look. Thomas.
but wait, Josh, let me finish before you go into this because the idea though behind the no knock warrant is the guy announced himself, but just because he didn't hear it doesn't mean that it really matters because the police
No, it does matter because it might mean that they didn't announce themselves. The police
but the
can say
police
anything
didn't
because they
have
know they're
to. The
police.
police didn't have to though, and that's the point I'm trying to get. The police didn't have to,
Exactly.
but they did. But and just because the guy heard didn't hear it doesn't matter to the police because the police still didn't have to do it, but they did come in. They did come in.
It doesn't matter to the guy either if the police are entering your house and you didn't hear them saying the police. And even if they did say the police, if they're entering your house and just yell police, how the crap are you to even know if that's police or not? Especially if you live in a bad neighborhood. I'm sure there's so many instances of someone walking to your house and say, "Oh, police," and then they just rob you. There's probably so many instances of that type of stuff. But even if they did say police or not, and if the boyfriend's saying they're not, and the police are saying they did, you don't know the true story. You don't know if they did say it or not.
honestly,
Right?
and
The
this is what
boyfriend said he didn't hear it and he started shooting at them. That's literally his right and the Constitution to shoot at them if someone's entering your house. All right? And a no knock
yeah,
warrant, there's no way that has any legal basis. Because if you're going
it
to
does.
arrest
The
someone,
judge
they removed it right after the whole protest and everything. They literally removed it because they realized, oh, this is a very bad law. It's literally like the same thing in New York when they implemented the stop and frisk law, right? And
stop and frisk, yeah. Oof.
after that law was implemented, there was a lot of racist crap going on. And then they're like, "Oh crap, this is bad. We need to take this law away because we realize that isn't affecting anybody but the people in poor income communities,
Yeah,
right?" And this is probably the same case with this no knock warrant. For them to just be able to go into your house, that literally violates the Constitution because the Constitution says, "Hey, listen, this is your house or your privacy. We can't just go in there without even letting you know we're going in there." It's a warrant. They tell you, "Oh, we have a warrant to search your house." They knock on your door. "Hey, Mister Blah blah blah, we have a warrant to search your house, and we are looking for this thing, and this thing." Right? And even if they knock on your door and say, "Oh, we're looking for marijuana," and they find guns and crap, they can't arrest you for the guns, but they can confiscate the guns. But they can't arrest you for it because that's not what they were there looking for.
guns. When it comes to guns, they can only arrest you if you have to basically say it's like, yeah, I have a license to own this gun. That's the whole idea. Like if you didn't have a license, they could be like, okay, well, we're going to confiscate that gun. It's like because I think because you're illegally holding a firearm because
But Thomas,
you don't have a license for it. But I'm gonna say this because I completely understand. If they went to the wrong house with this whole thing, you are saying that they went to the wrong house. I can't confirm or deny that, but so in your
Thomas,
it
it isn't a
just
confirm or
wait,
deny
but
thing. It's common
Josh, gotta let me finish.
sense.
Josh, gotta let me finish though. When it comes to their case, they did go to the house. They went to this house, though it was no matter if it was good or wrong, no matter if it was the right house or if it was the wrong house, they went to this house. The no knock warrant that they had, they said that we are the police. From the very beginning, they didn't have to say that though, because they had the no knock warrant, but they came in anyway. The guy shot at them, the police fired back. Breonna Taylor was killed, and I think the boyfriend was shot. But
But they shouldn't have been
in the end,
arrested for murder.
in
It
what
literally, they should have been arrested for murder. It's literally is not. There's
I
no way they shouldn't have. They literally
but
found a person earlier that day.
the way if we are saying that this was the wrong house, it, then the police should be held accountable because they did go to the wrong house. That's completely justifiable because they went to the wrong house. If you went to the wrong house, you shot people at that house. It's like I get the guy was firing back, but she was hitting the crossfire. It happens. It is sad, but the fact of the matter is, if this is the wrong house, then they should be held accountable for it because they made a mistake. It was a mistake that cost someone's life. But if this was the right house, then they shouldn't have been held. Then they were fulfilling the no knock warrant. But I do agree with you, Josh, in the case that because this that they didn't fulfill the no knock warrant. They did what the no knock warrant said, but if they didn't go to the right house, then that's bad because then that's not because then you don't have a warrant to go into this person's house, which makes complete sense.
Well, Thomas.
But do you get what I mean,
What
though?
I get what you mean. I get what you're saying. But I'm saying there's no way this isn't an unjust killing of a black woman. Number two is that if you're gonna say like before this whole conversation started, if you're gonna say, oh, this murder of Breonna Taylor, oh, that the shooting was justified. If you're gonna say that, you better make sure that you've researched it all the way. That because what it sounds like is that you were just listening to one side, you weren't listening to both sides, you didn't research it all the way. That's what it
I
sounds
I
like.
I
If
did.
you wait,
Well, I
I'm not
haven't
done
done
talking. I'm not
research,
done
so
talking.
okay. I'm sorry. I feel like Trump. I feel like Trump in
What I'm
that
saying,
thing. Oh, come on, you didn't get the joke
what I'm
though.
saying, if you're gonna say if you're gonna give your opinion on something as serious as someone dying and people
Yes.
are protesting over that person's dying, you better make sure that you researched it and you've realized, oh, this is what happened, this is what happened, and this is what happened. Because the way you explain that whole thing, like let's say nobody ever researched that story, and the first time they're hearing about it is on our podcast. And the way you explained it made it sound like, oh, the police entered the building and someone just started shooting at them, so they shot back. That's literally the way you basically explained it. So now this person, after listening to the podcast, is like, "Oh yeah, that shooting was justified. I don't know why people are protesting over it. That makes no sense, right?
Mhm.
If you're gonna give
Yeah,
your opinion on something or explain something, you better make sure you know about it the whole way.
and
Because that day that they went to that person's house, went to Breonna Taylor's house, they caught the suspect earlier that same day. Number two, the warrant wasn't for them. They went to the wrong house. Number three, the policeman said, oh, they announced themselves, but the boyfriend didn't hear it. And I think what adds to the boyfriend's claim is that it was a no knock warrant. So why would they announce themselves if it's a no knock warrant?
yeah,
That's what I
and
think what adds to the boyfriend claim. And if the boyfriend shot back at them, he is allowed to do that if a bunch of people are entering his house that he doesn't know,
and
and
just
he's protecting his
sorry.
girlfriend. It's
Yeah,
justified for him to shoot at them, but they literally murdered a girl, and guess what? They got off scot free. People are extremely angry about that,
no, I
and that's
wasn't. I think there's one officer that I think was charged though with
yeah.
was charged.
The officer that shot, he didn't even get charged for like that bad of a
I
charge.
think he got
Right?
charged for
He'll probably get
negligence
off for
though.
probation. Yeah, he probably get off for probation or some crap. That's literally terrible.
We don't.
How
You don't know. We don't. You just said. Well, you said that you think, but we don't really. But I at least don't know it for sure. I don't know if you know it for sure what he got charged with, but you know, no matter what happened, I think what this really does show, and I firmly believe this, it kind of shows how, in the case of Breonna Taylor, it shows how perception and I think that's the biggest thing because if you read media sources you're going to see two completely different stories if you read one from CNN and one from Fox, right? Right,
I
Josh?
guess.
So
Yeah,
I think the bottom line is, and I think people should really need to understand it, when you do look at these stories, you need to look at these from, you can't look at a story like this. You have to look, if you're gonna look at it, maybe like let's say you do look at it from the Republican side, you're gonna look at the conservative side from Fox, or you look at it from the Democratic side, the liberal side from CNN. You gotta read the other side to see and find where it intersects. And because that's the only way you can really understand it. Or you watch the hearings, you watch the actual court sentencing, the court hearing, and all that stuff. That's what they say, sentencing, the court hearing, because that's the only way you're going to be able to hear what the truth is. Because, well, and even at that, we don't really know what the truth is, because there are points where the stories
Yeah, you
intersect
don't.
from the police and from the guy and from the boyfriend. I'm just gonna call him the boyfriend for now on. I apologize to him in advance, but the biggest thing is, and I really think that it shows. I think that this does advocate for one thing, and because I've been a decent advocate for this. I've been a person that kind of agrees with this. Put body cams on a police officer. Like maybe like let's say this police officer, if this police officer had a body cam on, it could be, we would have a completely different story, because then we would have had video evidence that of the stuff that happened, right, Josh? And
Yeah,
this
I
could have
understand
been a
exactly what you're
completely
saying.
different,
Yeah.
and this could have possibly demanded a completely different scenario.
I don't think it would be a completely different scenario because the scary facts about what happened about this case are literally the facts. It's
Hmm.
literally it's not even the shooting or the time that it happened. It's literally the facts of the case that they went to the wrong house. The boyfriend had the right to shoot at them, and they caught the suspect area. Those are
Yeah.
literally the facts of the case. That's what makes that case so scary, and what makes it scary that the other police officers got off, and one of them only got like a small murder charge. It wasn't even the biggest like worst murder charge you can get, you know.
Yeah.
And police officers get off with stuff like that all the time because they're police officers. They protect and serve. It's like okay, if you're planning to have your gun on you and you know that you might use that gun, you better make sure that you're at the right house and you're with the right person. You know,
Yeah.
it's about that. It's about knowing who you are, what you are. You're supposed to be serving the community, not taking away from it. You know,
Yeah, it makes
it's
sense.
a whole
Yeah.
thing.
Anyways, so not to change the subject, that actually we talked for a while on that, but yeah, because we're actually, from the stopwatch I have up says that we're over an hour in. We went on for that for a while. Like I think
Well,
the
I had to
funny,
explain to you
yeah,
what it was about.
well, we actually had a decent conversation. See, this right here, ladies and gentlemen, this is what a political conversation should be about. It shouldn't see, me and Josh were both very respectful to each other, right, Josh? Like, sure, there was interrupting here
Yeah,
and
yeah,
there,
yeah, yeah.
but you know what? We both apologized for it. We both made we had a good political conversation, and I and we're coming out of it, and I don't think Josh hates me for saying what I said. I personally, and I don't hate Josh for saying what he said, because that's what political conversations are. We as a people need to realize that we had to come together, and we need to, when it comes to these conversations, we can't just disagree with the person that thinks the opposite. We need to actually look at what they're saying and understand it, and then the other person needs to hear what we have to say, understand it. That way, and there does have to be a middle ground. Like me and Josh, I think we're both coming out of here. We both still have different things. Like I still like Josh still thinks that the police should have been charged for more. Where I personally don't know. Where I personally I might end up doing more research on this just to see if some of the stuff things that Josh said like about them, because that I personally didn't know, that Josh said, oh, it's like, yeah, this was true. I'm gonna probably go look this up, be like, oh, okay, so this did happen and such. But
Yeah.
but it's all about learning, and that's really this whole thing, and that's the election. It's all about learning, and it's all about trying to how do I say this? It's about
Trying to
it's about
be, trying to have your answers be the most factual you can have them be.
well, even at that, even not just factual, but also being able to have a conversation with someone, but at the same time, when you have that conversation, being able to come out of it going, I respect your opinion, and that person still respects mine. I respect
Yeah.
you respect me. Easy.
Yeah, what I will say about to the audience and also to Thomas and everyone that's listening. I don't know how many people are listening, but if you're going to debate about anything or talk about anything, especially things that could be sensitive topics for a lot of people, like police brutality, stuff like that, that's a sensitive topic for a lot of people, right? If you're gonna be talking about that type of stuff, and you know exactly if you know what case you're gonna be talking about, whether you're gonna be talking about George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or stuff that happened years ago, you better make sure that your research and you know the cases, you know what happened, you know, oh, this is what came from this source, this is what came to this source. Like you should know what source you're reading. If you're reading CNN, you know that's going to be biased. If you're reading Fox, you know that's going to be biased. So keep reading on, read both sources, and from that,
And never
understand
trust
what
the media.
happened. You know, you just gotta make sure your answers are most researched,
Yeah.
and that you can come up with a fair conclusion from that. Try not to let your bias get in the way from your conclusion, because your conclusion is going to decide how you think about that matter. You know what I mean? And I would just say, if with a sensitive issue like police brutality, like don't get shocked if people get emotional about that or get a little bit hyped up about that. You know, because
Yeah.
because to a lot of people that's a serious worry. A lot of people tell their sons about, hey, listen, this is how you're supposed to act in front of the police. Don't do this, don't do that. Make sure you're respectful and yada yada yada, and don't do anything stupid in public. You know, a lot of people still talk to their sons about that because guess what? Racism isn't gone. You know, and it's probably never going to be gone. But we can try to make our lives better by trying to understand each other and trying to be stayed researched up about every single case. You know what I mean? So
But
yeah.
and the biggest thing is we have to hope that everything does get better because just by the mere fact of saying like things will get better, that's what helps people. And you people need to take an active step and basically be like, hey, we need to stop some of this. It's like we can't like especially with like the media, you have to look at it. We have to make sure that the news that we're getting isn't we can't have this bias stuff. We need to have the facts. We need to be given what is this is what we need to have someone go, this is what is happening in this world. That's what we need. And when it comes to when it comes to these protests, when it comes to police brutality, when it comes to racism, we need people that actually can go up and go, hey, this is wrong. It's like wow, it's like guys, what are we doing? It's like, we can't do this, or like what police brutality is like, guys, we can't do this. It's like, do you guys see what's going on? It's like, yeah, you guys can't do this. And when it comes to racism, racism, I don't know why I said racism like I was like shivering. Racism. When it comes to that, we have to look at it like we all need to realize that racism happens. And sure, and you know what? Everyone could be like, "Oh, racism only happens to certain individuals," but let's be honest, racism happens to all the time to everyone. Though, and you know what? And people know that it does happen. It happens to people. There's racism happens all the time. It happens to black people. It happens to the Chinese, to the Japanese, to the Koreans. Happens to people of different races. Happens to people of different cultures. Happens even happens to what is it? And even with religion. That's why there's anti-Semitism. It even happens to the Jewish people. Happens to the Christians. Happens to the Muslims. That's why we need true equality.
Yeah, and that's why it's so dangerous to have a bias about anything. Like I know it's hard not to. Like anything a human produces, it's gonna have some type of a bias, whether it's writing, art, whatever. It's gonna have some type of bias, but it's gonna be extremely hard. It's gonna be extremely bad if you have bias, just carrying bias along with you all your life, right? Because if you're biased about any topic, it's gonna be hard for you to understand the other side's point of view. And what I would love for all of our audience members and Thomas and everyone to understand that you need to try to understand the other person's point of view, right? Because although your experience may be different from theirs, their experience still matters. You
Mm.
know,
Everyone experiences things
this is how I feel
differently,
about this thing, and this is why I feel.
right?
Yeah, this is how I feel about this is how I feel about things, and this is why I feel about them. You should be listening. Like, okay, I understand what you're saying. You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I think that's a perfect note to end it on. Thank you everyone for listening to this hour and 20-minute podcast. We went on for a while. This is actually
Hour and
longer than
20 minutes.
last. Yeah, we went on for a while. What is it? But actually, I'm gonna have to change. What is it? We talked about movies, the vice presidential debate, and what is it? Through Breonna Taylor incident. So I'm gonna have to make a longer description. Anyways, thank you all for listening, and remember to subscribe to us on YouTube. Everything in 30. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Everything in 30. Follow us on Twitter for updates, and same on Instagram for updates. And especially on Instagram, you get to get some little snippets because Josh handles that, so he can say whatever he wants about Instagram. Um, and what is it? Remember, we're on Amazon Music. We're on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Pretty much, if you can find a podcasting host, we're probably on it, especially the big ones. So, thank you all for listening to this very, very, very long podcast, and we will see you all next Wednesday with hopefully some better, with some good news. Seeing as this has just been, it's like people are dying. It's like people are dying. People are bad. We have a vice presidential debate. Bad. Movies are being moved. Bad. Hopefully, we can get something good in. Hopefully. And we'll give it a week. Anyway, thank you all for listening, and we will see you all next time. Goodbye.
Deuces.